Hello, welcome into the Cafe Nutty Show. I'm your host, the Goldsmith, and it is 2-1 right now. 2 to Goldie, 1 to Upland. They got me. They got me because all of the indications, or they put too many indications that this is satire, and they said, "Oh, it was a double fake. We got you." The April Fool's Day joke was that it wasn't April Fool's Day, but I mean, when you think about satire, you put the hallmarks at satire, you tell everyone a reason, and then you put a little niblet in there, a reason why you should assume it's satire. There was no assumption here that there was a double fake going on, but it is exciting that we actually Upland to a degree rewarded those, even though this was a stacked deck. You had 300 properties, you had thousands of people participating. It was very hard to get a mint in. We'll get into the specifics of how the mint went, but let's leave it at, and let's start with Bermuda. Actually happened. Bermuda is going to be an expanding territory, expanding island in the game of Upland. It was the first Upland Island. There's a lot that goes along with it. There's a lot that goes with the fact that Upland wants to have an island in the game of Upland. And of course, I'm going to get into that a little bit tonight. Again, speculation alert there, because we don't know where things are going, but there is some little notes about bringing an island in at this time, with the language that's happened, with some of the things that happened in the last couple months, and with some hints that Upland is kind of pushing towards this broader infrastructure of transportation. And again, we'll get into those things. Also, definitely worth noting a couple other things that also weren't April Fool's Day joke. Because again, the April Fool's Day joke was no April Fool's Day joke. We got Bermuda. The start of Blossom season started today. We saw a little bit of, it kind of feels like an April Fool's Day joke, but not intentional. That is, we don't actually see the listing service or the listing numbers for our dividends coming out correctly right now. It looks a little funky. We'll get into that as well. But of course, it definitely can be said and should be said. Welcome to Blossom season, because that's where we are right now. We'll get into the details of Blossom season, or getting prepared for Blossom season, including the fact that now is the time, if you have your Blossom Pass, to get it burnt if you want to. Tomorrow is the first drop of the season. Let's get started. All views and opinions expressed by myself are mine and mine alone. Should not be taken as game strategy. Should not be taken as financial advice. Any views and opinions I express are not to be taken as coming from the game of the team of Upland. Guests that we do have come on are welcome to their own opinions. I like them to have them, but they shouldn't be taken as game strategy advice, financial advice. They don't represent myself, the Goldsmith, the Cafe Nightly Show, the team, or the game of Upland. Blue Rain. Japan is an island, so it's technically the first. Yes, maybe. Japan is a much larger island. Yes, it is an island. It is actually a nation as opposed to a territory. It has a significant amount more landmass and reasoning why you would travel between city to city by vehicle. They have a strong infrastructure of vehicles. I know Bermuda does as well, but they have a strong infrastructure of vehicles, transportation in between cities. When you talk about Bermuda is very much more isolated, very much smaller in scale. I don't know. It's kind of like the idea that when we got South Lake Tahoe, it was very different from previous cities because A, it is a travel to by car only. But B, Upland designated specifically as we are giving you the first ever in Upland resort city. That's the kind of termed it as a resort, termed it as a destination, and kind of differentiating it from other cities in the game, and differentiating it from the hub and spokes model we've had before with our tier 1 cities that had some smaller cities that were attached to them, and those smaller cities, they were attached and they were related to them by transportation routes and all of those things. And obviously you get a city that is like South Lake Tahoe, where it's none of those things. It's not attached to any city. It doesn't have any spokes that tie it to anywhere else. But yes, I definitely agree with you, Blue. Japan was the first island in the game of Upland. Much larger island, but yes, it is an island nation, and very much so. Correct Upland on that. That was an island. Upland kind of pushed this idea and this concept that Bermuda first island in the game of Upland. You're right. Japan definitely predates it. But again, released as a city by city basis, where Bermuda was essentially, you're getting all Bermuda. Oh yeah, you're only getting a small neighborhood now, but it's going to expand, 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 and you start out with the entire territory of Bermuda as being one island. Where in Japan we're going to have city by city. In theory, at some point we'll have city by city, and the cities will be disconnected from each other, as opposed to, in theory, Bermuda, once it's an entire territory, you'll be able to use that entire territory as one location. So we'll see how that ends up figuring out. But for now, let's look back at the announcement from yesterday, because it's changed a little bit. It's changed because as we see these updates, we do often have the update to an announcement come in, and it obviously comes in and preempts the rest of the announcement. It's the bits that have changed, it's the corrections, and sometimes it's the updates. It's the things that we didn't have in the beginning that now we have. And of course, the neener was a big part of Upland's corrections, or Upland's updates. Fantastical facades, the island of ingeniously impossible buildings. Again, you told me those buildings were impossible. And then I come down and look at these pictures. Those aren't impossible. Those could be constructed. I mean, they look like terracotta structures. They don't look like they're impossible to have built. So you tell me impossible, and I assume that it means that you're never going to have them in the game of Upland. That aside, let's read the update here. Update, April 1st, 2024. Bermuda is live and sold out. Keep in mind, only a small portion of Bermuda was released. This is just like any other city where we have the expansion, small area, then a larger area, then a larger area. Sometimes that small area is really tiny. And in this case, really tiny means a few hundred properties. That is not probably. That is one of the smallest releases in the game of Upland. Up against, and obviously the smallest one would have been Marble Hill, I believe, as a standalone release. The trick about Marble Hill, obviously, was that it was distributed. The ownership of Marble Hill was distributed in a little bit of a different fashion. It was with some sales and a reserve and sold through the store, as opposed to being something where people are shooting in and trying to mint it out. So I do see that as probably the first time we ever had as many people trying to mint as few properties at the same time. But it was exciting. It was exciting. It was also given the reality that we had so many people minting in such a small area. There was a couple things I think Upland didn't do that they've done before. Things like turning off block explorers and 3D graphics for the period of minting that they didn't do. That kind of slowed things down. It definitely felt like there was a lot more spinning wheels there. I'll be honest, my experience is different than everyone else's. I've had some city releases that I had a lot of luck and other people didn't. This particular city release was probably the worst I've seen in 2 years. And that's just my personal experience. I saw the spinning wheels. I waited for the spinning wheel, and finally it popped up. And then I went to click on a gray property that said it was already reserved, and then the gray property next to it, and already reserved, and gray property next to it, already reserved. And they sat there gray for a while before they changed color. Obviously, I sent out to the area, went to the next area, and the whole area was unminted except for one property. And by the time I get there, spinning wheel, the whole place is minted out. And that's how sometimes it works out when city releases, especially when you have as many people crowded in as small a place as we did today. And obviously, Upland here, let's pick up where we got through the sold out portion, the anecdote there. We're thrilled to announce that the first batch of properties in Bermuda is now available for minting, obviously minted out. To those who doubted and thought the opening of Bermuda was just an April Fool's prank, guess what? April Fools. The highly sought after event attracted thousands of players, but with only a few hundred properties available, securing one was a remarkable achievement. Congratulations to the fortunate individuals who succeeded in minting amidst intense competition. And yeah, it was intense. Like I said, 2 minutes and 12 seconds, the whole place got minted out. You have some outlier properties that maybe there was 10% of the properties left for the last 30 seconds. But yeah, it got minted out very, very quickly. And in some areas, it was minted out in seconds and obviously taking from there. And you kind of get this little balloon effect because the people who floated in are the first ones to mint, and then people start popping in. And with that popcorn, sometimes you see that there's some areas that mint out quicker than others, but you also see that you kind of have these movement and these explosions from these pinpoints where people happen to have floated in the first place. So excuse me, it's always an interesting pattern to see how those cities mint out. To all who arrived at Bermuda prior to its opening today, congratulations. You've earned an exclusive Bermuda badge, a token commemorating this unique event. Keep your eyes out as this will be distributed later this week. Missed out? Don't worry. This is just the beginning. We're planning on openings in the future, and we'll share more details well in advance of the ones to come. Ha ha ha. Well in advance. Good job, Upland. Upland kind of pushed the idea that this was a quick release, the 3 hours to get in, blah blah blah. But again, we're gonna do this more traditionally for the future expansions of Bermuda, and that makes sense. So stay tuned for more chances to grab your piece of Bermuda. Either way, happy April Fools. There we go. That was the update. Obviously, the original here was, this idea of, we went into the language here, fantastical, wonderfully outlandish, create your reality, new era, pure fantasy. That's right, pure fantasy. We got a few other fun ones here. Impossible buildings. Impossible becomes possible. Maybe. So the idea was, because Bermuda Triangle has this history and this mystique about being this isolated area, this idea about the Bermuda Triangle having all this mystery and lost ships and lost planes, that there's some type of magic to it, or mystical fantasy tied to it. The architecture, marvels, so fantastical, so unprecedented. Mystical energy. I see what's going on here. Upland kind of said that they were celebrating, or kind of makes it feel like they're celebrating architecture, and that architecture of Bermuda is being represented here. But so far, not so good. They're not bad looking buildings. I think they just don't represent Bermuda. But if you want to make Bermuda a fantasy land, and you want to kind of play with this idea of Upland is meta, we can do things a little different than what they're done in the real world. We're going to have fun, and we're going to isolate or segment Bermuda to be a little different than it is in the real world, because we want to build this into, I don't know, some fun playground. Fine. I mean, I can't complain too much. Sometimes some parts of Upland end up being driven by the community. We've had that happen. We've had community just decide to develop some areas one way or the other. We're watching master builders structures take over and be dominant in some areas because that's what people are choosing to do. Obviously, we've had these before, where these master builder structures, are designed by people who are community leaders, and then they go and they try to build those structures into their communities. That's always exciting. But this is a case where Upland's obviously driving that ship. They control the design of these structures. And I think we're along for the ride. So if you need mint a property in Bermuda, you have the opportunity to start building one of these 3 structures for now. Upland is promised that in the future there will be new structures to build. So this idea that there will continue to be new structures brought in into Bermuda, with the theory that the fantastical and fantasy is going to be a part of that as well. Obviously, there's plenty of travel options in and out of Bermuda. Nothing surprising there. The sale did go very quick. People who did mint a property, a lot of them flipped. A lot of them were able to, because there was a lot of that FOMO that, wow, there's so few properties. Keep in mind that there were few properties, but there's going to be more. Overall, Bermuda probably is going to be in the 30,000 plus or minus area of overall property cuts. That considered, it's not much different than Santa Clara overall for number of properties. It is interesting, and it is exciting that it is an island. And I'm going to get into a little bit of the speculation here as well to diverge a little bit. Blues Point, yes, Japan is an island, much more self-contained, or it can be much more self-contained because it's got more cities throughout. But with Bermuda, what is kind of interesting is it is a heavy cruise destination. Yes, they have an airport. There's a way to fly in and fly out. but it's a heavy cruise destination. A lot of entries to Bermuda do come through piers and weirs and docks. So it is an interesting concept. We're talking about the potential long term of how do we get cars from one continent to another. Upland, not too long ago, did correct the original flaw that allowed people to travel further than Upland wanted them to in their cars. And now, if you want to get outside of a continent, you don't have an option. You can't do it. But in theory, Upland's going to, patch that hole at some point. Is that going to be done by plane? Definitely could be. Is that going to be done by ship? That's definitely a possibility as well. Upland's talked about the potential of expanding its travel options and has talked about even this kind of tongue-in-cheek hints at potentials of boats. And they've shown boats and for years. And again, nothing means anything until it actually happens. Upland has quote unquote hinted at a lot of things that haven't happened yet and may not happen for a long time. Can't believe they launched Bermuda today. Yeah, KO, they did launch Bermuda today. That was I mean, like I said, 2-1. Upland got one on me. They got April Fools on me. The April Fools last year with the weather events didn't get me. The new mascot, I had speculations why they may be getting a new mascot, but I still had reservations, or some pretty strong reservations as to, is Upland actually getting this new mascot? Are they testing this out? Are they trying to see what's going on? Are they trying to make a joke out of it? Are they trying to support the value of miles in the community? And it was all an April Fool's joke there as well. So I mean, not too surprised that Upland likes to do something around April Fools, but they built this joke in such a way that they built all the hallmarks of, yes, this is a joke. See right through it. Hey guys, take a look at this. This is a joke. Aren't we funny? And then snap your fingers. And the joke is they're not telling a joke the entire time. And again, I think maybe they weren't as clever as they thought they were, because maybe they could have constructed a little different way if they really wanted to say, hey, here's the hallmarks that it's a red herring. Here, look at this. Here's a red herring. Now you know it's a red herring. Now those who can read the clues can stay on and be ready for Bermuda. But again, it was just kind of information was thrown out there. There was reasons to believe it was a joke. There was reasons to believe that it was actually going to happen, because we were due for some more properties. It's kind of fun to have it happen. Ultimately, the reward for even giving it a chance, which I definitely did, even though I was 99.9% sure it wasn't going to be a city release. I thought that I was going to get to Bermuda and I was going to click on our property. I was going to get to Bermuda, and right before the city release, right before I thought the properties were going to go bright green, it was instead going to go, April Fools, here's your prize. Everyone who traveled to Bermuda is going to get a block explorer or a map asset. But the joke was, we obviously got to mint, and at the end of the minting, those who did travel prior to the mint, they got a badge. They will be getting a badge. So watching out for that. That will be fun to see. Again, people put significant amount of work, more so than just traveling to and from a 1,500 UPEX flight. People put a lot more work than that to get a badge. So I think this was a pretty cheap badge for everyone who traveled to Bermuda. And I did, like I said, because I wanted to see what happened. Fully and wholly did not expect this to happen. Upland gets one April Fools on me. Next year, I want to keep it. I don't want to let things go even. I want to make it 3-1. So we'll see, Upland. Do your work. Get ready. Get ready for next year, Upland, because I don't want to be fooled again. But it was probably the most fun joke, because even though people travel to Bermuda or decide not to travel to Bermuda or had their own interpretation, and because the way Upland presented it, maybe they feel like, oh, I wish I went to Bermuda, or vice versa. They feel like, they went to Bermuda, but they had so much stress about it, and they wish it was more straightforward. And whatever the case is, this was a lot less high stakes than I think last year with weather, and there was even this type of tinkle, with once this happens, it'll happen quick. This idea that was happening relatively quickly, and people sold properties and maybe a little bit fire sale sold properties because they thought that there was going to be a major effect with the new weather, and maybe New Orleans was going to have the structures that people had already built get washed away, and maybe they didn't want that to happen. So maybe they were already starting to liquidate because of that. So there was a little bit more loss, I think, or opportunity for people to lose. There was the potential for people, because of the language of Bermuda being expensive and being exclusive. Maybe people sold properties in order to get ready for Bermuda. But I guess that's a joke. The joke is those people who did that, they didn't really suffer any major harm. They got exactly what they wanted to mint some properties in Bermuda. Those of us who didn't believe in it and went anyways, we get a badge. Those of you who really believed in it didn't get a chance to mint anything because there were so few properties available. You get a badge as well. And if you listen to me, I apologize. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was 99.9% sure as of yesterday, as of Friday, with the strong caveat that I knew there was a potential that I'd be wrong. I thought it was a small one. Maybe it was a small one, but it absolutely was the case. It absolutely is what happened. So yes, the badge, but no prop. KL, right on there with you. Got no prop. Did get the badge. I tried to get as many props as I could. The number I got was 0. I had 375,000 up. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, I guess so. 375,000 UPX ready to go. I could have minted a bunch. I mean, to be honest with you, Upland talking about how expensive these properties were going to be, that was nowhere near. I mean, we've had plenty of properties with a higher UPX per UP2. I've minted plenty of properties with higher UPX per UP2. So I mean, I just barely rented properties with higher UPX per UP2 less than a month ago. So I would say that maybe even that was a little misnomer to talk about how expensive the properties would be. UPX per UP2 wasn't cheap, but it definitely wasn't some of the highest in the game. And yeah, it was fun because it happened so quick that it wasn't like you wasted hours on it. It wasn't like I've had other releases like that where I've sent and I burn 15 cents and it takes me 15 minutes and I get one property or I get no properties. In this case, it was over in less than 2.5 minutes. If you didn't get anything, you didn't get anything. Upland put that a message out very, very shortly after the sellout. Hey guys, we're sold out. Put it out there very quickly. So if you're keeping your eyes out, you see you're sold out, you know not to travel to Bermuda anymore. You know that if you're, about to take your break at work so you could go mint, that's not an opportunity anymore. But also, with the reveal, they also said, hey guys, if you came, if you did the thing, if you were there in time, you are getting a reward. And that's obviously the badges there. Bermuda was lightning fast. Beautiful properties, beautiful landscapes. Yes, Cookie Jar Industries are definitely the case. If you want to look at street views, and you can look right in your street view of a property you put in Bermuda, you're not in a bad shape. Even one or two properties off the coast to be seeing some coastal views, to be seeing some beaches. So for sure, there's a lot that's picturesque. When the sun is shining, things are that much better looking, and we know some of our locales downcast, a little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle sneaking in. Something you see quite a bit, but again, a lot of the photography, a lot of photographs we see for our street view is very bright. Even the ones that were dark, I saw, even the ones that were dark and cloudy, were very beautiful. Palm trees everywhere. Always fun to see things like that. And we'll have to see how this goes. But my thought on these buildings is I'm going to set aside my thought that I wish those pyramidal, what is called a Bermuda roof, that those Bermuda roofs, the ones with the steps and they're white and they're beautiful, that those not being part of this original wave, I'm okay with that. I'm going to set aside my hurt and say, these are cute. If we want to call them fantasy, if we want to have that idea of this is the metaverse and we can have mysticism and magic and they have things a little bit different than what we see in the real world, let's go right ahead. Let's see what people end up deciding to do with building those out. Keep in mind, you will have standard structures you can build if you really want to have standard structures out there. But we'll see what continues to happen here. Upland's talking about more structures, and we'll see what those more structures end up being. I'm gonna go jump back because we actually had a couple other big things to go over today, above and beyond April Fools with Bermuda. I mean, here we are again. There's the Bermuda Live, some of the same language, thousands of players, remarkable achievement. You're getting your badge. Congratulations. But we had a couple other important things today. Blossom season unveiling new gamified missions, earnings and missions. So this is something we talked about yesterday, Friday. We had this announcement out. In there, we went over the list, but that is live today. So if you are getting kicked off, you're in your Blossom season best, you're all ready to go. There's people who are already trying to check the check boxes. They're trying to get further along on the list. They're trying to get their 4th and their 5th complete already. So to those who are trying to run through the list, do it. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to take my time, and I will tell you, I will get my 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know if I'm going to swing for the fences on this one because there's a couple on there that require stretching oneself a little bit, but very much may head towards that total number. But we've got 43 days, 44 days to get this task done. I'm not running, I'm not rushing, but again, I'm confident that we'll get the majority of those done here myself, just in passive play, just in my regular day-to-day. So not too crazy, not too worried about that, but we're definitely worth putting the flag up, the poll, to say, here we go, daily deduction, daily dedication, consecutive connection, property pioneer, Upland, urban explorer. Wow, I'm losing myself here. That's what I get for having glasses that aren't working for me today. Racing enthusiast, real estate mogul, seasonal decorator, the collections completer, master builder, city developer, economy contributor, competition champion, community grower, treasure hunter, and meta venture explorer. Our 15 tasks for this season. Get in and get more details. Go take a look. If you're watching on YouTube, here you go. Scroll quick. And if you're not, go ahead and pull that announcement up. It is in-game chat in Upland. It is in announcements in Discord. I do want to highlight 2 things here that I already discussed on Friday with Banana. First is treasure hunting is organized very different this time around. Meta ventures are brought in. I'm glad to see that. There is an incentive, or it's built around this concept with racing being staked. That puts some people, bad taste in some people's mouth because they don't choose to, for one reason or another, participate in staked races. Too close to akin to gambling. Some people have reasons why they're not involved in gambling at all. So I do understand that position. I do think it's nice or interesting that Upland has built into those tasks some support of meta ventures. Racetracks are only supported right now for people who have a meta venture racetrack, are currently supported only through the stakes, so for a share of the stakes. Obviously, people can organize their groups around it. They can do all types of things with the community to build up around a racetrack. But ultimately, if you're trying to monetize your racetrack, the best way to do that is to get people to race on your track staked. So it is nice to see the support on that. It's nice to see support on giving people tasks for visiting meta ventures. Again, that's been something Upland's talked about, and I've talked about, and other people have talked about, is if you want to build a constructive contest, one that actually supports the economy, one that invigorates portions of the economy and player base, then build things around player-to-player interactions, build things around layer 2, which again, no layer 2 here yet, but build things that encourage people to get into and participate with layer 2 experiences. And ultimately, if we're having a diverse set of gameplay, there's a diverse set of gameplay options. Layer 2 is one that hasn't been touched yet. Meta Ventures is one that's being touched more this time around than it was last time. Racing's obviously still there. Treasure hunting's there, but it's being treated in a different way. It's being treated rather in a participatory way than in a completionist way. If you participate in treasure hunting, you want to learn, you want to try a few different samples of treasure hunt in this city or that city, you are going to be rewarded for that, as opposed to you have to complete, you have to compete and win in a competitive. With that taken out of the mix, it is more friendly to new players coming in. I do appreciate that and looking forward to that this season. I did mention that today is the day. Get it burnt, get it done. If you want to participate in or you want to take your pass, if you bought your pass already, if you haven't bought your pass, there's still time. There's time to buy it throughout the season. But if you haven't bought your Blossom season pass yet, you could buy it between today and tomorrow. You can burn it. You do want to make sure you receive the pass before you burn it, obviously, so that can take a little while. So buy it with cognizance that it can take a little while to receive it. Then you burn it, and then tomorrow after the snapshot at 9 a.m. PT, you should be getting that drop later in the day. So actually 8 a.m. PT. So make sure you do have that burnt for first thing tomorrow if you are interested in getting that first drop. Drops are not retroactive. You can't receive the first week's drop if you burn it in the second week. You can't receive the first week's drop if you burn in the first week, but after the snapshot. So definitely keep that in mind. But it is going to be another season like we did have last, but this is our first season where we have gamified earnings that are actually affecting our payouts. And I do have to, unfortunately, but it's definitely worth noting, I do have to unfortunately come over here, open up my game of Upland and look at something. And what I have to look at is the way my earnings are currently being displayed. The way my earnings are currently being displayed is not the way they should be, because that's the way everyone's earnings are being displayed currently. And that's that you are seeing your base displayed under your earnings, the base of 4.9. You're not seeing your multiplier applied. So it's definitely worth taking a deep breath. If you say, I earned a higher amount than that, what's going on here? Take a deep breath. And know that it is something that Upland's fixing. But in the meantime, here we go. Look at that. Look at that pathetic number right there. That's 4.9% of my property dividends, or my property net worth. Would multiply where they apply by my collections, but it should be closer to 14.7, or should be at 14.7. That's going to take a little while to happen as far as the display. But keep in mind, this is just a display. I'm actually still earning my 14.7 when I see my collection. Oh, there we go. When I see my collection here, I can go and collect all my dividends. And when I go to collect all those dividends, this is based on 14.7%. Your UPX earning multiplier is currently at 3 for the Blossom season, resulting in an earning percentage of 14.7%. Keep in mind that's an annualized percentage, but that's exactly what it was last season. That's exactly what I was promised. That's exactly what I'm earning, even though over on the property side, that does need to be corrected. That does need to be patched. But for now, I'm going to click those earnings, and that's my 14.7% headed my way. So it's easy enough to get into the new season. We know we have an ornament contest that's already started. Leaderboard's already started. Caveat there is there's not so many of those Blossom season ornaments out there just yet. I really hope Upland does that sale earlier in the season. That way, when that sale happens, people can take those structural ornaments. They can get them on their property. They can earn that task. The task that says have that up for 25 days. If you don't sell the ornaments until closer to the end of the season, you can't get that as 25 days in. Let's make it easy for people if we can, Upland. But I do also like the idea of seeing more of these ornaments, more of these seasonal ornaments come through and show up through our UGC side of things. Our UGC structure ornament designers, more of those coming in the market. I want to see them come out in the article a little quicker. I want to see more of those get approved. And I love to see a great variety, a larger variety of those. So that in mind, that is your other way. And you can definitely go and take a look and see what the Blossom season ornaments are. There is a way to filter by season. There is a way when you go and look at an ornament to see what season it applies to. And with that, obviously, you can go and see if you're going to buy in the secondary where that lines up. So do your shopping. Get your eyes out. Take a look. you may be surprised. You may find some UGC ornaments you like a heck of a lot more than what Upland has to offer. And again, that's where I'm at right now. That's what I like to see. I like to see a variety of offerings. So there's still things that are coming from Upland. There's still things that are coming from Upland that I'm buying. But it's nice to have that UGC environment and looking to see that get emphasized more and more, and to be a large part of the game as we do continue to move towards Genesis Week 2024, as we do continue to move towards this concept of an expanded metaverse, or a unified metaverse, anyways, between where Upland's just a platform. That's part of it. But I do want to do two more things that aren't announcements from Upland, but are definitely worth noting. Upland has already said that Dirk will be speaking or hosting a panel, I should say, for OMA 3 at NFT NYC. They hinted that there may be some announcements coming there. This may be pushing things forward. If OMA 3 makes an announcement, it could affect Upland. If Upland goes there and makes an announcement, Dirk says something about the future of Upland, that's what they plan on doing at NFT NYC. It wouldn't be the first time that big announcements been made at NFT NYC. The FIFA partnership, or the specifics of the FIFA partnership, kind of got expanded a little bit at NFT NYC 2022. That was the one I was at. 2021, there was, some big things about money coming into the game. That was during a Series A funding round that was, right at or right before, right around, or right after, I should say, funding rounds that was announced that kind of grew the game a little bit. Manhattan got, what was already sold got, we saw the floor fly up on it, and then we had people go ahead and mint out the Bronx, because you brought all these people in from NFT NYC who have seen the game of Upland, and they're in the New York area, and they value the city of New York, and they ended up minting out Bronx very, very quickly. So that being said, I think that there is opportunity for Upland to utilize NFT NYC 2024 to make some announcement, to get in front of new players, to continue to build the game of Upland. I really hope that's something they focus on, they can do this year around. And then with that, on the other side, let me see if I can do this right. I'm going to head that way. I got an announcement. I'm going to see if they get the announcement set up in a way I can show it. Let's see if I can get there. But that is NFT or Paris NFT Week. There you go. That's the right language. Paris NFT Week. Obviously, Upland is going to be there. Definitely worth noting. Definitely worth keeping that in mind. So maybe an announcement there. They haven't really pushed that too much, but it is also a way for those in Europe, and it's much easier if you're in Europe to get somewhere else in Europe than it is to get across the ocean into the United States. We do have Genesis Week 2024, which will be happening in June. That'll be exciting. But again, some people made the point. It would be a lot easier to go if they were in the U.S. I mean, people who are even people in South America can be easier to get in than other parts of the world. Definitely understand that. But this is an opportunity for people to potentially meet up with Upland in Paris, France meetup. Again, this is going to be put on by the Metaverse Street Journal. There you go. Sorry, Tan, I almost got it wrong. Metaverse Street Journal and Upland. This is a partnership between two Upland, obviously France Upland, and Metaverse Street Journal, which actually is going to be a official broadcast partner of Paris NFT Week. So that's kind of exciting to see them have that kind of access. Obviously, Dirk is going to be going to the Paris, France meetup. So that's an exciting little aside there. Anybody who wants to go, obviously, it is fun to see, Dirk's on these other events. Dirk will be at NFT NYC. So if you're in the New York area, the tickets aren't cheap. They are not cheap to NFT NYC. But if you're going to NFT NYC, if you're involved in other projects, if it's something you're going to do anyways, it could be cool to see Dirk on a panel, hear what's going on with OMA 3, hear what's going on with Upland as he kind of interjects the Upland into the OMA 3 side of things. But if you are in France, or you're going to be easy enough to travel in, April 12th, 5 p.m. PT 5 p.m. Wow. 5 p.m. local time in Paris. it will be a meetup. So definitely something to get more details on. Look at community contest content and tools to get there. See more stuff going on there. It's a side event, Paris Blockchain Week, and I said NFT, but it's actually Paris Blockchain Week. Free entry and gifts if you go to the Paris, France meetup, again, put on by Betterverse Street Journal and Upland. So definitely worth keeping our eyes out on a couple big events. The Paris Blockchain Week, potentially, a little bit of effort coming out there from Upland. Do we know Dirk is going to be there this year? And NFT NYC later this week, the 3rd through the 5th. And then Paris Blockchain Week on the 12th of the week of the 12th. So looking forward to seeing those things, potentially having the opportunity to bring along with them some new announcements. So with that, we are in Blossom season. We are looking forward to what's happening the rest of this month, but we're also in a new quarter. We did close out Q1 2024. It's done. It is in the ground. It is over with. We are in quarter 2 2024, and we have a lot of things to do to get ready for Genesis Week as far as I'm concerned. We're going to be April, May, June. June is going to close out our second quarter of 2024. We're going to have some objectives. We'd love to know what those objectives are. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Get those objectives to us, Upland, because that's something that's always fun when we do those AMAs and get more information and hear what's going to happen for objectives for the quarter and maybe a recap of what happened the prior quarter. It is time to do so. Let's do it early so we can get racing towards Genesis Week 2024. We can hear about all the exciting things happening this quarter. We've got a lot to think about, a lot to hear, and a lot to get ready for this quarter. With the idea that, Genesis Week is its own thing. You get towards the end of the quarter, Genesis Week may fulfill some of those earlier promises, but we get a whole new set of guidelines and announcements when it comes to Genesis Week, things that get built around that. So I'm looking forward to that. We are 2 months out. Wow, I guess it's 2. 2 months out. If you haven't got your Genesis Week tickets and you are interested in doing so, they're available in game of Upland now. The closer we get, the harder it can be to get tickets for flights. The harder it can be to book hotels. Prices can go up. So it's always a consideration to take a look. I did see something weird about Sahara having some sale right now, April 1st, 2nd. Upland also, if you do buy the tickets to Genesis Week 2024, there's also some discounts for hotels. So keep in mind that there are ways to reduce the cost, but it definitely is a cost. Not everyone can attend. There will be events surrounding Genesis Week 2024 this year that are not going to be just for the people who are there in person. But lot to come up this quarter, and I'm looking forward to it all. So with that, I'm going to keep my eyes open. I'm going to look out for that AMA, and we'll see what is available for announcements tomorrow. Maybe we get closer to learning more about the rest of this quarter. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. If you are in the Upland Cafe, please feel free to unmute your mics. The floor is yours.